Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Hardam Tripathi from Triple. Today we will be speaking with you about the I-90. Basically, it's an application to replace or basically extend that permanent resident card, that green card that you have. So today we're going to go high level into every component of the I-90 green card renewal replacement process and hopefully shed some light on the pitfalls to avoid and what all it entails and how to succeed in your I-90 green card renewal application. So ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time listening in on one of our Triple Law videos, please feel free to subscribe and hit that subscribe button on YouTube or click the like button so that we can continue to ultimately create more videos to educate the public on all things immigration law and policy. So today we're just going to jump right in. We want to talk to you about what happens if you lose your green card. What happens if your green card gets old and faded and you can't read the front or the back of the green card? What happens if you are ultimately applying for a job and your job requires you basically providing that green card or that number and all that? All these things are situations we deal on a day-to-day here at our firm. We recently just had an applicant who could not read the number on the front and the back of her card, and she reached out to our firm, Miss Jane Doe, and you know, it's just a name. And what it was she really wanted to figure out, what do I do here? I can't not go to work. So how do I fix it? Well, she needed to get a replacement card. So she had a card on hand to ultimately show to her employer that she is a legal permanent resident here in these great United States of America. So ultimately, we're going to go through the I-90, which is the form that you have to use to ultimately replace your green card, and we're going to discuss the explanation of the I-90, the actual process. We're going to discuss kind of who needs to complete the form I-90. We're going to talk about how to file the I-90. We're going to talk about how to fill out the I-90. We're going to talk about what documents are required for the I-90. We're going to talk about what happens after you file your I-90. We're going to talk about how long the I-90 process takes. And furthermore, we're also going to talk about filing fees, what are the costs, timelines, things like that. So a very informative video. Not legal advice, just informative information we're giving you. But if you really want, please schedule a call with us, speak with us. I'd be more than happy as your attorney to speak with you about the process. Our number where you can reach us is 1-863-370-2427. Once again, that's 1-863-370-2427. Or you can email us at info@trip-law.com. Once again, that's info@trip-law.com, info@trip, the hyphen sign, law.com. So let's just jump right in. Ultimately, what is the I-90, right? What is this form? Well, ultimately, it's a form. It's called the application to replace a permanent resident card. So for those of y'all listening in who are green card holders right now, not those who are trying, maybe you are trying to apply for citizenship, but if your green card's about to expire as you're about to apply for citizenship, we've got at least 3 cases right now just this week in the pipeline regarding that, where we've had to file the I-90 renewal at the same time we're about to apply for their N-400 citizenship. You want to make sure you have that legal status, so it's very important. Don't wait until your green card expires. Plan for this, look at your green card and find out when it's about to expire and start planning ahead so that you know that you're in the best chance of success to get that green card renewed, taking into account processing times, the filing fees, USCIS, all of it. So ultimately, this is a card, right? It's an application. And this application is meant for 2 things. Either to renew your green card, meaning that your green card is about to expire and you want to renew it, or to replace your green card if it was lost, stolen, faded. You basically need a green card that you can actually read and be legible so you can provide it to your employer or just have it for your records. Very important document, especially if you're living here in these United States and you want to travel. You're going to need a green card. So you must file this Form I-90, right? This application to replace or renew your permanent resident card. Ultimately, USCIS is going to send you the green card usually, and on the green card, it'll give you the expiration date. Just be prepared, because what if you lose your green card? What if it gets stolen? What if it gets damaged or destroyed, and any other reason you may have? You may need this green card. In order to do it, please hire an attorney because the evidence standards are very burdensome. You're going to have to ultimately provide to USCIS evidence that you had this green card, that you are a legal permanent resident, and you're trying to ultimately renew or replace it through legal means and logical means, right? So now we're going to jump right in. So depending on whether you're trying to renew or replace it, you're going to have to complete that Form I-90. We're going to create separate videos on the actual Form I-90 itself and what to expect, but come to our office. We'd be more than happy to do that for you. Our paralegals will be more than happy to get the supporting documentation, the evidence, and we as your attorneys will provide any case law that may be necessary if there's any issues. Also, can make sure we review the forms, make sure if there's any interviews that we do come to those interviews, and ultimately communicate with the government. This is a very serious business. You got to make sure that you're crossing all your T's, dotting all your I's, making sure you're doing well, right? So ultimately, this does include the 10-year permanent green card that you're going to be granted. Either your card will be expiring after those 10 years or will be expiring in the next 6 months. 6 months is when you know you better start applying, right? Because you have that 6-month window, and even if, let's say you lose it or, you lose your green card or it gets stolen, you want to make sure you start that process. Now, there are people who shouldn't use this Form I-90, right? There's also a negative to it. So basically, if you have a conditional green card, which is about to expire, between, the 2 years after being issued, you got to follow a different process, right? Because it's not a permanent green card that's valid for 10 years that has renewable periods. It's actually a 2-year conditional green card. So in that aspect of things, there's something called an I-751 removal of conditions process you have to go through. That's just fancy legal lingo for basically you have to go through a whole separate I-751 process. Give our firm a call. We'll actually make a separate video on that as well. But if you're in the conditional green card process where you just recently got your green card and you're in that 2-year window where then once you have the conditional, you're trying to get the 10-year, at that point you're not filing the I-90. That is not for you. That's a whole nother, conditional marriage-based green card form. It's called a Form I-829. It's like basically a petition to remove conditions on permanent resident status. It's a whole separate system, a whole separate process, and that's if you gain your U.S. residence by like an investment in a U.S. business. There's all these different other areas of it. So give us a call. We'll kind of walk you through it. But we here at Triplaw really are focusing on this video right now just for the I-90 when you've already gotten that permanent green card and you're trying to ultimately renew it. So ultimately, depending on why you're requesting that I-90 green card, you can either file that I-90 online or you can actually mail it in with the physical Form I-90 printed out. And with the G28, if you have an attorney, it's just basically an attorney of record form that we would file on your behalf, and we would basically do that. So who can actually file the I-90, right, online, right? Basically, this is anyone whose green card is about to expire or is expiring within 6 months. If that is the case, you can file online. You can also file online if your green card was lost, stolen, mutilated, damaged, or destroyed, right? Then you can also file online. You can also file online if your name has changed. Let's say you're someone who has a maiden name, for example. We have a lot of clients who are women who have maiden names. They get married, they change their name. Now they want their green card to reflect the actual name that they have legally. Well, at that point, you can also file online with the I-90 to get a replacement card to actually reflect your actual proper legal name for the record. You also want to file the I-90 online if any personal information has changed. This could be any information about, your personal history. This could be addresses or anything like that. You want to basically get a new green card to reflect that so the government has that information so when you do apply for citizenship, it does not hinder that process. You could either have also an old green card, right? Or it could be an invalid green card or an invalid version of the green card. Maybe the green card's already expired and you need to get a new one. Definitely call a lawyer because that's very important because we want to make sure that we protect you when you're applying for that green card if it's already expired or if it's about to expire and you literally have like a week or two. And this isn't something that most Americans or most green card holders or people, immigrants really think about, right? So this naturally happens. We get busy in our day-to-day lives, so we want to make sure we do renew the green card as soon as possible. You might be a commuter, meaning like you either live in Canada, right, or you might live in Mexico, but you travel to the United States daily for work. You're coming across the border every day. There's a lot of contractors, a lot of people who come here. They have legal permanent residence, but they live in Canada or Mexico. They're traveling to the U.S. on a daily basis. Well, you're going to need that green card. That could prevent you from coming into the U.S. if that officer, CBP officer, Customs and Border Protection, asks you for that green card. So you definitely need that legal permanent resident card renewed and ready to go. Don't wait till the last minute. Get that immediately. You can also apply online if you're a commuter but now live in the United States. Okay, that's also another one. And then also your immigration status, if it was automatically converted to the green card holder status. This applies to a narrow group of people like special agricultural workers and things of that nature. You also want to file online. Make sure you get that green card renewed or replaced, because you don't want any hiccups down the line when your I-90 application period comes up and you don't have the green card and now you can't come into the country, or you're in the country and now you can't work. So a lot of unique situations by filing online. Now, who must file by mail? So there's other ways where you have to file by snail mail. I know it's a pain sometimes and you have to be patient, but these are people who are applying through certain circumstances where they cannot file online. And these laws do change, so based on the date of this video, this is just current knowledge I'm sharing with you, not legal advice, just informational knowledge. When you come into our office for a consultation, we'll definitely break it down for you in real time. But there are certain individuals who have green cards and are trying to replace or renew their green card, and they must do it by mail. They have to mail it in to the actual address, and that's for people who are applying for a fee waiver. Let's say that you're indigent, maybe money is tight, and you're trying to apply for a fee waiver, then you must mail it in. Let's say your green card was issued, right, but you never actually received it. That could be a big issue. We just had a client where the green card was issued, but they never received it. And then they had to travel to the United Kingdom, and they had a lot of trouble basically trying to come back because they never got their green card. We were on the phone with the USCIS trying to get them the green card before they went, and then they had to go because there was a funeral, and it was an emergency and exigent circumstance. But if they had gotten that green card ahead of time, it would have behooved them to do that. So we as your attorneys will make sure we do that by reaching out to our congressional offices, working with USCIS, giving USCIS a call, understanding your situation, being empathetic to it, and really doing a good job. And so ultimately for those people whose green card was issued but they never received it, it was actually never received by them to that address, maybe your address changed or something, then you have to file what's called that AR11 address change form. We'll update it for you based on being your G28 attorney of record, and we'll also have to mail that in as well. Other times there's errors, right? Like people make errors. USCIS makes multiple errors. I do not trust the government to do their job most of the time. They are just sometimes incompetent. By no fault of your own, the government does mess up. And if USCIS messes up, or there were errors made, you're going to have to mail that in again, right? So that's going to be a situation where you have to mail it, not do it online. And then other times, you may have received a 10-year green card, right? But, it expired, right, before age 14, and it will not expire before you turn 16. So there may be like age parameters that are very unique that you can reach out to us. And if you're a minor or someone who's a child, we will also speak with your parent on behalf of you, the parent. We'll kind of explain to you the circumstances. So you received a 10-year green card before age 14, and it will not expire before you turn 16. Then in those weird, unique situations, you're going to have to mail that application in. So that was a really golden nugget of kind of what to expect, when to mail it versus when to do it online and things of that nature. When in doubt, just mail it. That's what we usually do. It's usually a better way because sometimes their systems break down. You're going to have to create accounts and all that. It's a pain to deal with sometimes. So our best policy is just mail it in. We understand other attorneys may do it differently where they may want to do the online system. But just to safeguard your process and make sure you're doing okay, you just want to be good, right? You want to make sure you're all right. Now, when you're applying online, we're going to break it down. When you're applying online, you want to create a USCIS online account. You want to sign in with that account. And if you haven't already created one, you want to create one. You're going to complete the Form I-90. Do it with an attorney. That's what we recommend. And then you want to upload a lot of supporting documentation. So and we're going to have a separate video on it, or we might talk about it here very briefly. But you need to supply supporting documentation. So that may be like examples of like your birth certificate, a copy of the current green card that you have, copies of all your supporting documentation that's very relevant to your case. You also want to answer all the answers that you answer on there and review it very carefully, hopefully with the help of an attorney. Give us a call. That's what we're here to do. Then you're going to sign electronically, and then you pay your fees, right? You can pay it online, and then you submit the I-90, and then you see what happens next. That's if you do it online. Then if you do it by mail, you're going to download and actually print out the application. You can either do it online, like typing it up, or you can print it out and in black ink actually write out all your information, and then you're going to submit it. You're going to put a check or a money order with the application, or maybe a credit card information through a separate form. But you can do that. You gather all your supporting documentation. We create the cover letter on top of it, and we'll do that for you as well. Then you want to mail that renewal or replacement application for the green card to the relevant address. Those addresses do change. The filing fees do change. So talk to a lawyer before you actually write it, because you don't want to lose money and time. You don't want your application to come back to you and then have to start all over again. So all these things are very important. Now, once you actually go ahead and fill out that form, there's going to be a lot of instructions. We'll create a separate video on it, but they're going to ask questions that are very relevant to that application. They're going to want to know your A number, your alien number. They might want to know your USCIS online account number if you're applying online, or even by paper. If you have one, do include it. They're going to want to know about legal name changes like we talked about, like, for example, if your maiden name changed to a married name, things like that. Mailing and physical addresses are very important, because that's where they're going to mail all these documents to you. You must include this because it's very important, because any blank information on these applications can get your application rejected, denied, and then you have to start all over and pay that fee and all that. So you don't want to deal with that. There's going to be some legal stuff like the class of admission. That's going to be in item 14 of the application. That's very legalese type stuff. But if you have any questions on it, give us a call. We're here to help. It's basically your class of admission. It's going to be on the green card. It's going to be ultimately something, it's a category. It's usually like 2 letters. It'll say something like IR1 or CR1 or something like that. But we'll help you with that as well. You're also going to have to provide your date of admission of when you got the green card, your date of birth. And remember, you want to put that date of birth in month, date, year format. I know a lot of countries follow date, month, year format. You want to make sure you're completing the form in accordance to U.S. law and policy and regulations, along with policy based on the actual agency. Very important. Now, once you actually have the application, a lot of the questions I get is, Attorney Tripathi, Trip Law, we submitted this. How long do we have to wait? Well, it varies, right? It depends on a lot of situational factors. For example, midterm elections are coming up as of the date of this video in November of 2022. You're going to see, more processing because of the president, who's a Democrat, and basically they want to look good, right? So it's actually a good time to apply. You're also going to see, money coming in from the executive and from Congress is promulgated, and $100 million will go to the director of USCIS that they're going to pay to their staff and all of that. You're going to have officers who are going to work overtime and sometimes on Saturdays. So it all depends, and we'll give you the state of affairs of USCIS, because we here at our firm do continuing education. We learn every day as well in changes in the policy, so we want to make sure that you're well aware of changes as well. Then finally, you're going to have disabilities, right? There's a lot of clients we have who have disabilities. They're usually hard of hearing. They may have vision impairments. There may be mental or cognitive deficiencies. Well, that's where we get the doctors involved. We'll talk to them. But that's very important as well. In that application, if you can't, or let's say you have a wheelchair, you're wheelchair bound, things like that, then there's ways that we as your attorneys can help when it comes down to like biometrics or fingerprinting appointments. There's a section in that form that talks about assistance that by law, based on the ADA, the American Disabilities Act, that helps you if you're disabled. And we here at Trip Law really respect that. We have a lot of geriatric clients who are a lot older, who sometimes have vision impairments and things of that nature, maybe speech impediments, maybe they cannot speak as clearly or enunciate words because of some cognitive impairment. All that stuff we take into account when we sit with you at the consultation. We're very empathetic. A lot of people are already struggling with these disabilities, and it's our job here not to make your life more difficult. Even though the government may try to make it, we will advocate for you and make sure that if you're dealing with a disability, that we take complete care of you, we respect your situation, and ultimately put you in the best possible bucket or outcome to make sure that that is not going to hinder your renewal of that green card. Very important. Have a lawyer who cares about that disability and has been there before and is empathetic to that situation. Very important, and we take that very seriously. And then furthermore, you're going to have your applicant statement, right? You're going to have the contact information, the certification, the signature aspect of the form. We'll take care of all that for you. You're also going to have an additional information section if there's stuff that we need to include, additional information that may be relevant to your case. That's all very important as well. And then finally, we're going to talk about like what I-90 supporting documents are required, like what actual documents are required for this. When you come into our office, we'll talk about it, but this is evidence. It's like primary and secondary evidence that's going to either make or break your case. Very important you provide the right documentation when you're submitting it to USCIS, because that is what they're going to go by to see if there's been any changes since the last time you got that permanent green card and now that you're trying to renew, especially if you're trying to apply for citizenship, at the same time. Very important material that you must include in that application. There's a lot of situations where you got to include the copy of your green card, right? Unless you never receive your green card, unless it's been lost, stolen, or damaged, or your immigration status was automatically converted to green card holder status, which is that special group of people like special agricultural workers and things like that, then you don't have to provide that usually. But that's where we'll come in as your lawyer and walk you through that. And we can create an affidavit. We have templates for that. We make sure we get your side of the story. We get it notarized under penalty of perjury and make sure we get that to you. Now, what documents are overall kind of needed, right? So, for example, sample documents could include, if you have like old or outdated green cards, an AR3, an AR103, a Form I-151, required supporting docs will actually include the copy of the green card that is about to expire. You're also going to have to include a lot of relevant information like government-issued IDs. This is like your state driver's license, your social security card, your birth certificate. If you're in the military, you're going to have to provide your military ID. You're going to have your passport. Every single page has to be there. You also want to make sure that you have any sort of I-797 receipt notices that could have been included. We're going to provide that as well. You want the passport page with the I-551 stamp if that was relevant and applicable to your case. You definitely need that. And then also if any information has changed. So let's say you got divorced between the time that you got it, that can cause situational issues, right? So you want to provide divorce papers. You want to provide marriage certificates, birth certificates. Let's say you were adopted. You might have to provide adopted, paperwork showing that you've been adopted by the new family. You might have to, provide all court documents if there's been any criminal history or IRS tax-based issues. You're going to have to show legal, documents that are ultimately going to show that your situation has changed. If it's based on like commuter status, which we were talking about earlier in this video about people who live in Canada and Mexico or such and are immigrating here and are got their green cards and they come in every day, you might have to show evidence of your employment. This means like pay stubs, offer letters, your employment verification letter, things that can show that you actually did work in the U.S., that you have that valid work authorization in terms of already having the green card through social security number and all that, but also you need to show all that, right? And you got to show evidence of employment, right, within the last 6 months. I mean, that's a lot. It's a heavy burden. You do not want to mess that paperwork up. Call us here at Tripathi. We do business immigration along with family-based, so we understand it. I myself have a business background, worked in big consulting firms, understand business needs and requirements. We'll provide all that to the government and make sure that you do not suffer if you are in that status when trying to renew or replace your green card. Now, if you've also been a commuter, you're going to have to provide proof of your U.S. residence. That includes lease agreements, deeds to your house, property deeds, utility bills that show that you lived there within the past 6 months. This could be something like an electric bill. This could be something that shows that even if it's in your parents' name, let's say you're living with your family, you have to include the parents' information, their birth certificates. I mean, it gets pretty long and drawn out. Do not do this yourself and risk getting denied on your green card, because then you're out of status, and then what? You're setting yourself up to potentially get deported, right? So don't do that. You work too hard. Do not risk it. Call us. We'll help you with that. Now, also, you're going to have to provide, a lot of different forms that if it's in a different language, it's going to have language transcriptions showing it notarized with a certified language translation, things like that. Also very important. Not very common, but sometimes, like I have clients from Cambodia who the language is not in Roman letters, right? So it's in a different vernacular, a different language, and we need to provide that. Our Indian clients, the Hindi language is also different. Our Arabic clients have different Arabic writing, and we really have to translate it for the government. Now, what happens after you file the I-90, Once you file, you're going to be in a waiting period, right? You're usually going to get like a confirmation letter, kind of a letter saying that it's a receipt notice. It's like an I-797C receipt notice. It basically says that they've received and your application has been accepted. They're going to show you a biometrics appointment letter. They're going to want to tell you that you have a fingerprinting coming up. They're going to ask you potentially if you haven't provided anything. They might ask you for a request for evidence letter where you have to provide more evidence and more documentation. We'll help you with that here at Trip Law. We handle that. You don't have to do anything. We'll communicate to the government on your behalf. So also very important. Then there'll be a decision letter that will be sent out pending no interviews are needed, but you'll get a decision letter saying whether it's been approved or denied, and then that's basically it. And then to check the status, you can, if you've applied online, you can check your USCIS portal, or if you have an attorney like us, we'll actually give you updates within, month to month. You can always reach out to us. We're not one of those attorneys where it's hard to get a hold of us. We give you our cell phone number. That's that 863-370-2427 number. You can text us, call us whenever. We will get back to you within the day, if not within a couple hours. And ultimately, the process does take, it varies, but what we've seen is it takes about 4 to 8 months. We do have, like I said, relationships with the congressional offices to help expedite if there's any sort of issues. So all that's important. There are filing fees. Currently, as of the date of this video, it's about $455. Those prices can change based on the administration, based on the timing. And then there's like an $85 filing fee as well. You can apply for a fee waiver if you're indigent. And ultimately, that's kind of in a nutshell, kind of how this whole process works. So today we went over a lot. We kind of went over kind of what is an I-90. We also talked about kind of how and who needs to complete it, how to file it either online or over the mail. We talked about how to fill it out. Generally speaking, we'll create a separate video on kind of step-by-step instructions. We also talked about what documents are required. We talked about what happens after you file your I-130, or excuse me, your I-90. And then also how long that I-90 process takes. We discussed filing fees. So we discussed a lot. This was a very helpful video. We hope that you found this helpful. And if you have any questions about replacing or renewing or extending that green card based on your situation, please do give us a call. We are very optimistic that we can do this for you. We still have not lost a case on this yet. We don't intend to. We want to give you the best possible outcome for your case. We understand this is very important and this is your life. You need to stay in legal status to make sure you ensure yourself to be set up correctly for when you apply for citizenship, or if you just want to maintain green card status and legal permanent resident status, you just want to make sure you're in good hands. So thank you so much. I know it was a little long of a video, but it was very valuable information, very high level, yes, but once you come into our consultation, we will break it down, answer any questions you have, and make sure you are well on your way to getting that renewal or getting that extension of the green card and ultimately live and continue to live that American dream. So this is U.S. Immigration Attorney Hardam Tripathi from Trip Law. We thank you so much for your time on this video. Please remember to subscribe and hit that like button if you found this helpful, and do reach out to us at 863-370-2427 or email us at info@trip-law.com to schedule your consultation. We'll be more than happy to get you across the finish line and ultimately get you on the pathway to citizenship or maintain that legal permanent resident status. Thank you so much. We wish you the best with your immigration journey and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.